Hello, and welcome to Day Night Gaming. Today I'll be discussing with you a movie review for Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, before we begin, I have to warn you, there will be a lot of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I highly recommend closing this video and returning it to after you've seen the movie. Now, there will also be spoilers for Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, as well as Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. I would also like to state for the record that I am an avid fan of the original trilogy created by George Lucas. And one of my favorite characters of all time across all cinema is Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams. Now, before we start with the Solo Star Wars story, let me discuss the original trilogy with you first. Now, a lot of people believe that in Empire Strikes Back, Lando betrayed his friend Han, but I actually believe otherwise. I actually believe that since the beginning, since Han first arrived at Bespin, Lando tried his best to warn Han about what was going on. He sent a fighter to, meet up with the Falcon while it was still in the clouds, and it gave him a warning shot, trying to warn him, hey, you shouldn't be here. You definitely want to leave. Now, Han didn't get the message, so he proceeded to land on the landing pad. Now, Lando personally greets Han, but when they first meet, he says, you got a lot of nerve coming here, after, what you pulled, or something along those lines. And, he's basically, trying to tell Han, hey, you don't want to be here. You got to go. But sadly, the Falcon is damaged and they needed to stop. So Lando, he welcomes him with open arms. But you got to remember, before Han got to Bespin, the Empire beat him there. And, Darth Vader was also, there before him. Darth Vader is not someone that, is to be trifled with. He is one of the most dangerous entities in the galaxy. Him and the Emperor, they are a force to be reckoned with. So, Lando tries his best to do what he can to help them out. Han, he gets tortured, and he inevitably gets frozen in carbonite. Now, before Boba Fett is able to escort Han Solo to Slave One, Lando, he enacts his plan to save everyone. He frees Leia, he frees Chewbacca, and that ends up delaying him because Chewbacca is choking Lando. And for that duration of time, Boba Fett is able to get a large enough head start that by the time everybody gets there, it's just a few moments too late, and Boba Fett is able to transport Han Solo out of Bespin on his Slave One. Now, after that, please keep in mind, Lando gave up everything. He gave up Bespin, Cloud City, his whole mining, I don't know what you would call it, the whole floating city that he had built. Basically, at this point, he has nothing left. He joins the crew of the Falcon in order to save his friend Han, and for the next 5 years, devotes his life to saving Han. He puts himself in danger by joining them on a raid in Jabba's palace in Episode 6. He almost gets eaten by the Sarlacc pit. He risks his life. He puts everything on the line to save Han. And in the end, they do. They get Han. They save him from Jabba's palace, and then they meet up with the Resistance. At that point, he volunteers to lead the attack on the Death Star. That already, if he was, unloyal, if he was a coward, no one chooses to attack a Death Star unless they're invested, unless they believe in the cause. You have to be a brave person to go up against the Death Star, to go up against the Empire. And this is a suicide mission, pretty much. But he does it anyway. And on that attack run, he even flies the Falcon into the superstructure of the Death Star. That it barely fits. That's a suicide run even for smaller fighters like X-Wings and TIE fighters. But he does it anyway. So he clearly defines himself as a brave, heroic man. He clearly defines himself as a loyal friend. Now, when we go in and we watch Solo, a Star Wars story, all of that gets retconned. Basically, Han Solo meets him gambling, playing Pazak, and Lando, the first time you meet him, he cheats in that game, inevitably beats Han Solo. So the wage of that specific game is Han Solo gambles a ship he doesn't even own versus Lando's Falcon, and Lando wins. So please keep that in mind. Han Solo owes Lando a ship, probably one of the fastest ships out there, according to their dialogue. And then after that, they go on a mission to steal fuel. And when they get onto that planet, or actually before they get onto that planet, the movie introduces you to a friend of Lando, a droid named L337. Now, this droid, throughout the course of the movie, reminds you that droids are sentient, and that droid believes in droid rights. Very vocal about that. And Lando very much cares for this droid, at least from the dialogue that you get during the movie. So they go onto this mining facility, and they go to steal fuel, unrefined fuel. And now, while they're trying to escape, L337 gets hit by a blaster and is almost destroyed, or maybe is destroyed. I'm not quite sure. Now, Lando then runs out into fire, to save his droid friend. Now, normally you wouldn't jump into blaster fire. You wouldn't risk your life for someone you didn't care about. So he obviously has an emotional attachment. He obviously believes or thinks of L337 as a friend. Now he gets to the droid and he gets shot in the arm. And even though he got shot in the arm, he's still trying his best to, save the droid. He's trying to drag L337 to the Falcon, and he's so desperate that he actually, they eventually pull the droid onto the Falcon, and they make their escape off the planet's surface. Now, while they're flying through the Kessel Run, they are blockaded by an Imperial Star Destroyer. So Han Solo, he comes up with the idea that he needs to take a shortcut through the cloud of the Kessel Run. And that normally would be suicide. It would be a suicide run. But he gets the idea that if they take if they take the memory core out of L337, and combine it with the nav computer, that they'll be able to navigate through the treacherous space of Kessel. And after Lando removes the memory core and he hooks it up to the Falcon, he says, okay, she's part of the Falcon now. So you can allude that the Falcon is basically his friend at this point. They are one and the same. The Millennium Falcon and L337 are now one entity. So now before we go further into that, let me jump onto a tangent. Now afterwards they escape through Kessel and they reach a refinery planet where they're gonna refine the fuel out of its unstable condition into a more stable, transportable, usable fuel. And during that time, they are ambushed by the Marauders. And at first sight of these Marauders appearing, Lando takes the Falcon and runs away like a coward. He just flies away, doesn't even care. He's gone. That's it. And that already, I think, it goes against his character. Now, the movie progresses a bit, and at the end of the movie, after everything that's been said and done with the fuel, Han then goes to find Lando, and he finds him gambling on another planet, and he tries to gamble the Falcon again. Now, first off, let me state, remember, he already owes Lando a ship from their previous game of Sabacc. So I don't understand why Lando even gambled up the Falcon in the first place. He still had that other ship that he's owed. But he does it anyway. Now here's the thing. Remember, the Falcon and L337 are one and the same. They're one entity now. And I don't think that Lando would gamble away a friend like that. Especially an important friend that he's willing to risk his life for. That just means that, you know, he actually doesn't really care about her. You know, at this point, at this stage in the movie, L337 is just another gambling chip for him, and I don't think that's how Lando would be. I honestly believe Lando, from the original trilogy, is a very loyal friend. Loyal enough that he'd risk it all to save his friends. Yeah. So at this point, I was very dissatisfied when I saw that scene. It really took me out. It retconned all his great characteristics from the original movie. So I can't give a good review for this movie. If I was to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give Solo: A Star Wars Story a 2 out of 10. Just because, one, they assassinated a great character from the original story, but also because aside from that, the rest of the movie I was pretty bored. I didn't find it entertaining at all. There was a lot of plot points that I didn't agree with. The only twist that I didn't see coming by the end of the movie was that secret appearance of, Darth Maul at the end. I didn't think he was going to be in the movie. I didn't think any Force users were going to be in the movie because Han's never seen the Force at all. He's never seen it. Now, keep in mind, he didn't see Darth Maul, so that was only Qi'ra that saw him. But I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think there was going to be a Force user in the movie at all, and that was the only thing that surprised me. The rest of the movie, they pretty much foreshadowed every twist throughout the movie. Like the instant you see Woody Harrelson's character you already know that he's going to betray everyone, because he honestly, even though he pretends to care about his other crew members, after they die, not even another peep. He doesn't even bring them up at all. He doesn't mourn for them. Basically expendable to him. Then later on, he tells Han, you know, don't trust anyone, then you'll never be disappointed. That's basically foreshadowing that he's going to betray him at the end. So, you know, all these twists and turns, they weren't really, they weren't surprising to me. You know, there was no dire threat in the movie, because in the future movies, in the original trilogy, you know that Han Solo lives, you know that Lando Calrissian lives, and you know Chewbacca lives. So, you know, I just sat there. Yeah. Anyways, so that's my review. 2 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to see more future content, and hit that bell to be notified whenever I come up with more videos. Until next time, take care.